Hi there, this is Mrs. Frost, and this is our weekly overview video for the week of, in Language Arts 7, for the week of November 16th, Monday, through November 20th, Friday. I'm going to show, this is our weekly video. Make sure you go in and take the two-point quiz question afterward. In our class plan this week, we're going to be working on 3.03 to 3.07. And I put several new items in our locker, including the Parts of Speech flip book. Alright, so this is what our class homepage looks like. This is how cool it is. And I'm going to go to our class plan. In our class plan and on the week view for this week, the 16th through the 20th, you'll notice an overview of what our week looks like. Tuesday and Monday have one piece, a lesson. Wednesday through Friday each have a lesson and either a lesson check or a discussion. I just wanted to give you a little reminder on what the symbols mean. If you see just a lesson, that means you read through all slides of the lesson, and that's the symbol with the chain link in the orange, and complete the interactives as you read and take notes. Oftentimes this will include a graphic organizer for a story. If you see this symbol here, discussion symbol, and you'll go through the lesson and then you'll open up the discussion and post. If you see this symbol here, a piece of paper with a question mark, that's a lesson check. So you go through the lesson and then you complete the lesson check. If you see this symbol here, it's a box, drop box, and a lesson. So you complete the lesson and then you go to the lesson check. The common theme that everything here had in common is that no matter what it is, a lesson check, a lesson, a drop box, or a discussion post, they all include a lesson. These lessons are our course book. We have two books for this course, our anthology for stories and this, which is like our book that we take notes on. Alright, so let me get over here. We're going to go to our week in a glance, and here is 3.03. You're going to get the chance to read about Dr. William Hale and his heart surgery. It's pretty cool. So you open up the lesson and you look through and you have a link to the story and a graphic organizer that you can complete in your notebook. And there are 16 slides to read through and interact with in this lesson. You should expect that would take you at least 30 minutes to go through all of those, and then also you're reading the story. Alright, you're going to notice the theme of the next couple stories. You're going to be looking at different types of nonfiction and comparing it to historical fiction. In this case, they give you a link to a biography, and you're going to read the biography and compare it to a nonfiction. I'm sorry, a historical fiction. Alright, so each of the stories, another theme you'll see throughout this whole unit, are that all the stories have one of these observation sheets. I'm not going to be collecting them, but you should fill them out for each story. They'll help you prepare for your upcoming mini research paper. And although 3.03 Monday does not have a lesson check, a discussion post, or an assignment that I'm going to collect, make sure you're super comfortable and know what a primary source is and what role historical documents have. Alright, on 3.04, which is Tuesday, you're going to get to read about this famous woman, Marie Curie, and in a lesson series called It's Radioactive. I want to point out that there are 14 slides for you to read through in this lesson. So you're going to read through them all, complete the interactives, and go to any links they share with you. And then this one shares an autobiography link, so you compare the autobiography with the historical fiction from our book. So our book gives us a historical fiction to read about Marie Curie, gives you a link to an autobiography, and then you compare and contrast the two. Here's a link to the story itself, and there's a graphic organizer, and then you get the observation sheet that, again, I'm not going to be collecting, but you should complete. Alright, so now we're onward to Wednesday on our schedule, and I have a lot of where you're going to get to read about Enrico Fermi and a chain reaction. So first I want to point out these questions, and hint, hint, make sure you're aware about what is the goal of asking yourself questions. It's to activate prior knowledge and help you make connections when you're reading, and be able to identify a few. This will help you on your lesson check this day. All right, then you go to the story and you actually read about Enrico Fermi in our class anthology. Then on number 9 of 15, you have your observation sheets. It's going to say you should turn them in to me, but I'm not collecting them this week. This is pretty cool. I enjoyed this one a lot. It has a set of flashcards on each of the scientists that we've read about in this narratives unit, and then it puts them into the context of what else was happening at the times. Like, for example, William Hale, 1856 to 1931. What other major things were happening? And one thing, hint, hint, to keep in mind is what characteristics, what personality traits would you say that all of these scientists share? Okay, our grammar and learning portion continues in 3.05. Make sure you're able to identify and know what you find in a dictionary entry. And then before you take, I'm talking before, not after, before you take the 3.05 lesson check, make sure you can correctly answer all two of these questions, okay? If you can't, then you can go back. For example, if you can't answer number 1, you go back here and you find out so that you can answer it. So make sure you're able to answer these before you take the lesson check. So that's Wednesday at a glance. Now we're going to move onward to Thursday at a glance. Thursday has a lesson and a lesson discussion. So you open up, you read the intro, then you go and you fill out a graphic organizer as you read a model research report called Balloon Flight, Past, Present, and Future. Make sure you do not skip this reading of the sample model research paper because it's going to be referred to many times in this unit. Then you get to start doing something pretty exciting. You get to start thinking about what do you want, who do you want to write about? So you want to start thinking about who's interesting, what scientific field interests you, and then you'll start thinking about scientists that you might want, slide 8, scientists you might want to research and what you might want to focus on. And then finally on 3.06, on slide 12, it starts going into grammar, and you want to make sure you can know the difference between independent and subordinate clauses in a sentence and how to recognize a phrase fragment. And one way they do that is they give you background information, so you read through these slides and you take notes, and then it also gives you samples, so make sure that you're able to understand what's happening here before you take your post your discussion post. And when you post your 3.06 discussion post, it's titled How Do You Get Started? So you're going to need to remember that. Read through the sample, read through the directions, then you click on the discussion post and post here under How Do You Get Started? On Friday, we're going to look at Friday. We have a research plan and a lesson check. So you need to know what's included in a research plan. Hint, hint. And then it goes in detail through it. It also goes in detail through different flashcards for research resources that you can use. Then it goes further into the plan itself. What do you do in a plan, and what do you do when you're paraphrasing and summarizing, which we've been working on. Next, it goes into grammar on slide 11 of 16. And for this, you're going to need to make sure that you know these sentence arrows, which are fragments. And you need to be able to distinguish between a sentence and a run-on sentence, and how to correct run-on sentences. So what do you do? And so make sure you know this information here. All right, and they give you practice for it. And if this practice doesn't help, you can use any of the tools I've shared in class, or you can look online for more information. But you should be able to correctly identify how you correct fragments. You do it in two ways. You either attach a fragment to a nearby sentence, so it's then becomes a clause on that sentence, or you can add more words to it so that it ends up being a complete thought. So you need to know how to correct fragments. Friday you have your research plan. Do not take your 3.07 lesson check if you cannot correctly answer these questions. How can you distinguish between sentence fragments and run-ons and correct them? Can you name some brainstorming strategies? What are the main components of a research plan? These were all things that were gone over. How do you correct sentence fragments with samples? Then your research plan were all things that were gone over in 3.07. So don't go on to the lesson check if you cannot answer these correctly. All right, recognizing the difference between a sentence and a fragment. A fragment looks like a sentence. It resembles a sentence in two ways. It's a group of words that begins with a capital letter and ends with an end mark. But the important difference is that a fragment does not contain a main clause. So a main clause is, a fragment is missing one of these essential components. It either does not have a subject, a verb, or a complete thought. If it does not have a subject, a verb, or a complete thought, it does not have a main clause, and thus it is a fragment. Alright, so keep that in mind. And one game we played, this might help you, was we played the clause, phrase, race game. And remember the tip, a clause has a subject and a verb and a complete thought. A phrase does not have both, and so it is not a complete thought. Alright, so this is our week in review. And remember that every day, whatever the lesson involves, it always involves a lesson link with lesson content and information. If you have any questions, let me know. See you in class.